Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of the series, a very captivating story collection by Kevin. The series is titled Reburial on True Ghost Stories. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, now we are honored to invite you all to dive into the content of the second episode of this story presented by Dean Shadow. 3 p.m. on the dirt road leading to the edge of the village, how Antoine saw a few elderly men and women, was walking back with a cane and a hunched back. The two young men spoke up. "Hello, it seems like you all are discussing something that happened outside the cemetery, so no one noticed us." They overheard. They vaguely heard an old woman say, "At the back suddenly is printing. The temple is strange, cracked, collapsed. The whole corner of the grave like this. Is it an omen? Is it a sign disaster will hit Phuong Boy village?" An old man walking slowly beside her sighed, shook his head and replied, "You ask that, but even my father wouldn't know. Having lived nearly 70 years in this village, having gone through wars, bombings and air raids, never once has there been an incident of graves cracking and sinking, let alone the oldest grave in our village collapsing like this. For the past 3 years, when has this village ever known prosperity and abundance? And now even the very ground, our well-being is in turmoil. How can we live like this? Oh my." Looking at the two old people walking unsteadily, Tuan felt a very deep pang of sorrow. The two elders were right. Poverty and hunger have clung to Phuong Boy village for generations, and as if that bitterness and suffering weren't enough, now even the graves can't find peace. Tuan blamed himself again. Could it be that I am somehow one of the causes behind the cracked ground and the sinking graves? Enough. Why are you just standing there? Howl grabbed Tuan's. Tuan's hand is moving. After walking a bit further, they spotted Baka, the village chief, also approaching. Seeing Tuan and Howl, he immediately asked, "Where are you two going? Heading to the cemetery? Turn back. Everyone's already cleared out from there. Right now, the village is meeting and no one. Don't go out into the cemetery." Howl greeted Mr. Ka and replied, "Yes, indeed, sir." "No, sir, we haven't gone to the cemetery. Earlier, I went there and got really scared. Now, Tuan and I are going to the other side of the village. Work, don't have to." Mr. Ka walked a bit closer. He asked Tuan, "How's work going these days, son? We live in the same village, yet I hardly ever get to see you." Tuan politely replied, "Yes, sir, I'm doing fine. I work at the brick factory all the way over in the next village from early morning until evening. By the time I get home, it's already dark, so I rarely run into anyone. Also, my house is at the far end of the village, so it's even harder, sir." Seeing Mr. Ka, he immediately asked further, "Oh, right, Tuan. About your grandmother's grave. My grandmother's grave I count to our dear village cemetery. Or are you still keeping her buried behind the house? It's been about 7 years now since Grandma passed away, and we still haven't exhumed her. Back then, everyone in the village was struggling. People barely had enough to eat, let alone take care of the dead. Many years have passed, and things have gotten a little better, but the villagers are still struggling a lot. However, if things get too tight and too difficult, just tell me. I will help you. Even if we can't raise much, a little is better than nothing. Let's try to arrange a proper resting place for your grandmother. We must gather her remains and bury them." "Your grandmother's burial shroud?" Tuan respectfully replied, "Yes, thank you, uncle. Over the past few years, I've been trying to save up, and it's almost enough now. If everything goes smoothly after my salary next month, I'll arrange to exhume my grandmother's grave. I'm also planning that around Tet. I'll come find you to ask about the burial procedures at the cemetery, and it would be convenient if you could help manage the arrangements." Mr. Ka quietly pondered, muttering to himself, calculating and hesitating, then nodded and said, "Next month, huh? Right now it's the end of August. Next month will be the end of September, entering the autumn equinox period. After that comes the winter solstice." "That's right. Ideal for exhumations, moving graves, it's also reasonable. But how should I put it now?" Seeing Mr. Ka hesitate, as if struggling to express something, Tuan asked again, "Are you worried that what happened cemetery today might affect burial? Is that really it?" Mr. Ka nodded and replied, "That's right. I don't understand why, when everything was going smoothly, Suddenly, such a catastrophic had to happen. That Ngay family, thinking I feel both pity and blame, but I just can't bring myself to. Just the other day, he personally came over to tell me not to let anyone go out to the cemetery, but they wouldn't listen. Now they've died such a tragic death, and it's even affecting the whole village's morale. Everyone in the village witnessed the scene out there. This afternoon, everyone's face turned pale. Well, anyway, what's done is done. There's still a month left. When the time comes, I'll figure it out. You two, wherever you're going, just go. It's already getting late in the afternoon. You remember, don't go out after dark unless it's necessary. Got it? How, at that moment, immediately asked in confusion, "Why is that, Uncle Ka?" Uncle Ka whispered in reply, "The village elders warned us. They said the land at the cemetery will crack, sink, freeing spirits, wandering souls, escape, disturb. So is the flow, to limit going outside when the sky gets dark. Of all the graves, it had to be that one that sank. Even if you don't want to believe it, you have to. All right, off you go. Dad needs to get back and finish filming the house. The family still has to attend to ancestors. Leave early, come back early." Saying goodbye to Mr. Ka, Hao, and Tuan continued on their way to the other side of the village located in the beautiful countryside. At this point, it was already 4 p.m. They arrived at Puong Nia village house, stopped by a tea stall at the entrance of the village to ask for directions. "Oh, you haven't packed up yet? Oh, please give me 2 cups of tea." The tea vendor immediately replied, "These past few days the sun has been setting late. It's not until 4:30 p.m. that the shop is packed. Catch the villagers coming back from the fields to sell more cups of tea. You boys are from, is this the Phoenix Beach? Here is your water." She pulled out some chairs for them to sit. Hao smiled and said, "It's true. Whatever. You even know where we're from. Come on, drink your tea." Tuan, the vendor, grabbed a cloth and wiped the table. Then she continued, "Oh dear, I've been sitting here selling tea for 10 years now. This is selling water for 10 years. In the village there is, you two look unfamiliar to me. And from your accents, likely, I can tell you're from Puongbai village. It's not far from here, but each village has its own accent. You two must have some business coming over here, right?" At that moment, Hao suddenly asked, "Oh, is there a shaman or fortune teller's name is Za, right?" The shopkeeper said, "What exactly do you two want? To find Master Za for fortune telling or for making charms?" The stern look on the tea vendor's face changed. Her eyes review Hao and Tuan from head to toe. Hao immediately stammered and said, "Yes, both. Do you know where Master Za's house is? Please help us find it." The tea vendor softly slurped her tea, then smacked her lips and said, "You two are asking the right person. I will lead you there. I just asked for 5,000 dong. You two have to help me pack my stall. Deal? I'll clean up the shop. Do you agree?" Hao pouted. "Geez, ma'am, a cup of tea costs only 200 dong and you're charging 5,000 to show us the way? That's outrageous, more bitter than green bananas. Want it or not? No, never mind. I'm not free either. But let me tell you the truth. Indeed, without me leading the way you ask until nightfall, you wouldn't find Master Za's house. The 5,000 dong I'm charging you two is a referral fee. Just think about it for a second. Reach his house, see him? Not a chance. Fine. If you don't agree, then forget it. Hurry up and finish your drinks. I need to pack up and head home." The water shop changed its face like flipping a hand. Hao glanced at Tuan and whispered, "Maybe we should just agree. She's got a point." It was near 4:30. If they kept seeking directions, it would take forever. Not yet. Afraid by nightfall, all efforts will be in vain. Tuan immediately said, "We've already come all the way out here. We might as well just accept it. Let me pay her." Tuan reached into his pocket, pulled out a 5,000 jong bill, handed it to the tea vendor, and said, "Here, let me pay you. Thank you for giving us directions." The tea vendor waved her hand dismissively. "Not enough. You still owe 500 jong for the 2 cups of tea. You help me pack my stall so I can to go home for me." Hao took out 500 jong and handed it to her. Then grumpy, frustrated that they had to pay and still help clean up the stall. "Oh, this is way too much. What if, remember to push the cart home for me? I will show you the way." The tea vendor chuckled slyly. Mushy, smiling mouth, eyes looked. "Don't worry. My house is near Mr. Exaw's house. There's definitely something going on about spiritual matters, ghosts. He's really skilled. Not only does he tell fortunes and make charms, but he also raises spirits." "What? Raises spirits? How do you know that?" Hao asked. his voice trembling. The tea vendor replied, "Keep your voice down. Just keep it to yourself." How could I not know? I live nearby. He lives all alone. Every day, I hear the sounds of chopping wood, lighting the stove, feeding the pigs. But only at exactly 3 a.m. How could one person possibly do so many things at once, really? How got goosebumps? Glancing at the tea vendor's face, and suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. How stammered, But why were you awake at that hour, at that time?" The tea vendor widened her eyes and grinned, being a shrill, cackling laugh. "Because I too have raised ghost soldiers." But all of them forced a smile. People with the same face, the same expression, terrifying features. Their eyes of the tea vendor rolled back, combined with her toothless mouth deliberately opening as wide as possible to force the wrinkles on her cheeks to bunch up, made Howe jump in fright. Howe was carefully holding the medicine box. He dropped it to the ground, then screamed out, "Thun! Oh, Mom!" Tan also shuddered. He managed to support Howe. The tea vendor burst out laughing like a mad woman. "Ha! And you're already scared? What kind of young man exactly? Are you such a coward? How will you get married? Wet your pants and bed. Is that it?" Howe felt humiliated. His face reddened, his ears purple. As he picked up the box of medicine, he looked around for help, but the sight of the woman was even scarier than a ghost. Scare people to death. The tea vendor laughed and said, "It's just because you're faint-hearted. Look here, it's right over. Only sun-dried onions left by 5 p.m. you find. Ghosts or demons. You just look timid, so I thought I'd scare you a little. Who would have thought you'd be that frightened?" But this guy here stayed much calmer. You see? Obviously this kid even goes to the cemetery in the middle of the night, so what would he be afraid of? Right? That's why now, bring disaster to body. He has to go find a master to seek help, so it's best to know fear. There are some things you just shouldn't be curious about. "Oh," he calmly replied. And thoughtfully, after a moment of consideration, the two young men, one pushing a cart loaded with goods, the other carrying 2 baskets for the tea vendor, followed her directions. They both ventured deeper into Phuongia village, passing through a stretch of concrete road, then onto a dirt path. After a while, they still hadn't arrived. At that point, Howe asked, "What's going on? Are we almost there, Mom?" "Not yet, ma'am." The water seller immediately replied, "Soon. Just simply finish this dirt road, then turn onto a small path. 200 meets and you'll be there. My house is a pond away from Master Sa's. From my house, you can see straight over to Master Sa's place. You can see his house clearly from mine. You couldn't really call us neighbors, even though he rarely interacted with anyone in the village." Tuan immediately asked, "Earlier you mentioned that Master Sa raised evil spirits. Were you just joking about that? Just to scare us, right?" The woman at the tea stall laughed and replied, "No, I'm telling the truth about that. I'm not joking at all. To be honest with you too, I usually get up early to prepare my goods. You might not believe it, but all these candies and snacks, I make them myself. Some days I have to get up from 3-4 a.m. But just look at that time. You'll almost always see a shadowy figure moving back and forth. Sometimes they're carrying water, chopping vegetables, or tending the fire. It's like 3 or 4 people are working at the same time. And Mr. Ksa happens to have a household alone. No wife, children, grandchildren, just him. Yet it would get noisy, busy, only for an hour. And by 4 a.m., everything would go totally silent. You guys say it's not a ghost? It's a sound. The soldier he ordered to do housework. What is it? At first I was scared too. I got used to it after a while. He rarely goes out these days. Vegetables or meat, and brought them over to his house. And say, next time I'll tell them to keep it down. Just hearing that gave me goosebumps. Tuan immediately asked, Master Za is from Phuongia village, right, ma'am? Phuongia village, right, uncle? The vendor, Water, nodded and replied, Oh, I'm from this village. See, during wartime, his family was scattered. Then I heard that his whole family evacuated to the central region. When they returned, only he and his mother were left. His father died over in Cambodia. It seems that that's how he learned the sorcerer profession. Cambodia, but he became well known in the past 2 years. Before that, no one had just even heard of him. That's it? You guys keep asking about that stuff? So what about your story? Are you planning to find a sorcerer to make a charm or something? On the deserted road, the conversation flowed easily, so Tuan casually shared, a bit of their story with the woman at the tea stall. Talking as they walked, before they knew it, they had reached the end of the dirt road. There was a small path branching off at the end. The woman at the tea stall pointed and said, "Over there! See those motorbikes? They're all from the district town. That group has been here since noon, and they're still waiting." Howl clicked his tongue, his voice full of complaint. "Then who knows how long we'll have to wait? It's already past 5 o'clock, Howl said as Howl spoke. He saw people taking their motorbikes. It seemed like this group was leaving. The woman at the tea stall said at that moment, "See, lucky, right? That group finished watching and is heading home. You too will be able to watch right away. Help me push a bit further. Once at my house, I'll take you over to speak to the master for a word or two." Howl was now slightly hunched over, pushing the ox cart, turning onto a small path. The road was full of rough, uneven stones. As he pushed the cart, Howl asked, "The road is this rough, and you push this whole load of stuff by yourself every day? From one end of village to other? I have to hand it to you. Even a young guy like me finds it tough to push this cart." The old woman ahead heard Howl say that and chuckled as she replied, "Who told you that I do it all by myself? I'm too old to. How can that car with all that stuff?" Again, it was that same awkward, forced smile from her. But the tea lady didn't turn around. However, there was a hidden meaning in her words that neither Howl nor Tuan could understand. Howl looked at Tuan and said, "Could it be there's something else here that you and I can't see?" What Howl said suddenly gave Tuan goosebumps. There was something that both of them could feel. Ever since they turned onto this small road, it seemed like the air had gotten noticeably colder. Why? Was it because the sun was setting, or was it due to some other reason? Tuan immediately replied, "Cut it out! Nonsense! I'm more scared by the..." Look on her face, always acting all mysterious. "It's creepy as hell," Howl said to the woman at the tea stall. "Oh, you're so funny, always scaring us. So if it's not you alone, then who could it be?" Early in the morning at the entrance of the village, we didn't see anyone else but you, did we? People on motorbikes from teacher's house. Mr. Sa passed by. Howl and Tuan had to press themselves close to the grassy roadside to give way to them. These people rode by awed and admiring, saying, "This master is just like a saint. He hasn't said anything and he's reciting fluently. Your story, this official struggle of traveling a long distance from the district town to come back." Another person added, "The master still remembered the words the master instructed, right?" "Of course I remember. How could I forget? Obviously. Otherwise we'd be stuck here." The woman walking alongside replied in a low voice, "Watch your mouth. We were told not to tell anyone. Let's just go back." After the motorbikes passed by, Howl immediately whispered, "See? Told you, this master is really skilled. You've been saved." As he was speaking, Howl was startled by the raspy voice of the woman at the tea stall. "Still standing there? Hurry up, move your legs," Hoy responded. "Yes, ma'am, I'll push it over right away." For some inexplicable reason, ever since they met, Howl kept feeling afraid. This tea stall woman had been scared, but she kept saying, "Ma'am," and whatever she told Howl to do, he obeyed without question. They were only about 10 meters away from the master's house. Both Tuan and Howl caught a glimpse when from deep inside the house a young woman appeared. A young woman came out, looking flustered and hurried. The sky, with a bit of afternoon sun dimly lit. The girl still covered her head, kept her face down, and hurriedly walked along the dirt road toward Howl. Moreover, Tuan couldn't tell whether she was in a rush or not, but she was so distracted that she almost bumped into the tea stall woman. She lifted her face slightly, still keeping her head lowered. Her face lowered. The same sharp, hoarse voice of the tea stall woman rang out. The girl froze in place, looked at the tea stall woman, then replied, "Is that you, Mom? I was just about to go look for you." Both Tuan and Howl stared at each other in confusion, then asked in unison, "Mom? Mom?" The tea stall woman turned around and looked at the two young men with a fierce, probing look. "So what? Is it so strange that I have a child?" They looked at the girl, holding an umbrella, standing shyly. Her face was pretty, with long black hair, flowing down to the small of her back with the slender waist. The girl was probably about the same age as Howl, yet two young men stood stunned. They had been completely entranced. "Hey, you two, what are you staring at so intensely? Are you planning to devour the girl alive or something?" Poke your eyes out. The two guys now knew it was just a threat, but this drink vendor lady was truly fierce. How immediately asked, "Is that your daughter? Earlier you mentioned you had someone else helping you. Other people help say her daughter must, right?" The drink vendor lady immediately replied, "Of course. Every day my daughter sells drinks at the entrance to the village. In the morning, she and I push the cart out there and set everything up. In the evening, we pack, push the cart back home. Just think about it, and you'll know who I meant." At this point, How finally breathed a sigh of relief and felt relieved. The vendor spoke so vaguely that How ended up imagining all sorts of crazy things. Now How quickly spoke up and said, "Oh my goodness, if I had known you had a daughter helping you, I would have come over every day to help you pack up. How about starting tomorrow, you let me come over and help her out too? Okay, Mom?" he said. With that, How braced himself and pushed the rickety cart forward with a thudding sound. He pushed it past the gate of Teacher Za's house, knowing that by the pond was the vendor's house. How stopped, wiped the sweat off his face, then smiled brightly and said, "I'll leave it here. Push it into yard, right?" The drink vendor lady and her daughter walked over. She smiled and said, "All right, just leave it there. Later someone will know to bring it inside. As for you two, come with me to Teacher Za's house. I said I would. Keep my word and tell them you're acquaintances from Phuongbai village. After that, it's up to fate, guys." How immediately smiled. "Okay, that's good. Thank you, ma'am. By the way, is your daughter already engaged?" The drink vendor's daughter stood next to the ox cart, lowering her head shyly, not daring to look at anyone. The more bashful she became, the more smitten How grew. Sua, the mouth, asked her, but How's eyes kept glanced at her daughter. The water lady immediately, "Hey, that's none of your business. Stop standing there gossiping. Now, are you going over to Master Za's house or not?" "Go to Mr. Za's house or else?" How sighed, his voice full of regret. "Yes, I am. I'll go, but your daughter is really beautiful. How can so pretty exist? With beauty like that, she should be famous throughout the whole district, the whole commune, right?" One strange thing was that from earlier until now, Tuan had been completely silent. Only How kept talking non-stop. Tuan didn't say a word, but kept staring at the woman selling drinks, then glancing over at her daughter. No one knew what Tuan was thinking. Hearing How call his name, Tuan startled, looking confused, and asked back, "What?" How clicked his tongue and said, "You're not completely bewitched, are you? Right? But let me say this first. Don't try to compete with me." Tuan didn't quite understand, so he hesitated for a moment, pondering. The woman selling drinks chimed in. "Hey, it's getting late. Are you still planning to go to Master Cha's house?" Tuan immediately replied, "Yes, ma'am, please take us over there." The tea vendor lady led the way, with Tuan and How following behind. As they walked, Tuan kept turning his head back to look at the tea vendor's daughter. He couldn't explain why, but at times, Tuan's vision seemed to blur when he looked at the girl. There was something hazy, unclear, but when he focused again, he saw indeed she was a very beautiful girl. Patting Tuan on the shoulder, How said softly, "You like her that much, that you keep sneaking glances at her? Or should I let you take over the watch instead?" Tuan shook his head and said, "It's not like that. You've misunderstood me. It's just, I have this feeling that she keeps feeling kind of strange." How laughed and said, "Of course she's stunning. In this poor countryside, where people eat rocks and gravel, it's rare to find such a beautiful girl. So beautiful." Again, the woman from the tea stall opened the gate and went in. Inside, everything felt quite natural. In the courtyard, she turned back and said to How and Tuan, "You two just wait here. I'll go inside quickly, tell Master, then come right back. Don't wander around or break anything or pluck any plants, got it? Just stay right where you are." Having already heard from the tea stall woman about how the Master's house kept evil spirits now coming to the place at the Master's courtyard, How felt goosebumps all over. The house was a 3-room structure, roofed with tiles, weathered tiles, faded from years of exposure. Master Za's property was spacious with gardens, front yard, backyard, pond, all present. In general, Master Za's house was similar to most of the houses in the village. Not wealthy, but not exactly poor either. In the yard, there were even several pots of decorative plants. Glancing over to the side of the house where an open well, moss had grown, covering the whole well's edge in green. How took steps toward look into the garden area next to the well. How pointed and said, "Hey, Sir, what kind of vegetables does the master grow in his garden that are lush and green? They look strange. I've never seen this type of vegetable before. Tuan also looked in the direction How was pointing. Tuan replied, it doesn't seem like vegetables. It looks more like a flower plant. The leaves are long, flat, and grow out from a herbaceous stem. It looks similar to a flower plant. I forgot the name. It's something like a sensitive plant. Now that you mention it, why does the master's garden have so many of these plants? They're so lush. That's really good, How immediately asked Tuan. By the way, just now you said something. What about that woman and her daughter at the tea stall being strange? What do you mean? Tuan then whispered, yeah, I don't know why, but ever since I came in here, I just find her difficult to explain. The mother and daughter, they have this one thing in common. In common? They look completely different. You're saying they have something in common? If someone told me that girl was her daughter, I'd put my head to the ground. Tuan shook his head and replied, no, I'm not talking about their faces. Did you notice this? When we entered the village, sitting under the tree selling drinks, even though it was sunny around that time, the sun had already softened, and sitting under the shade of a tree like that, there was no need to wear a hat. Yet she kept wearing her hat from then until now. Ao laughed and said, old folks crazy, huh? Wearing a hat. What's wrong with that? That's just how old people are. They wear hats to keep hair neat. They just like wearing hats. Still, it's puzzling, isn't it? If it were just her, wearing a hat, then fine, nothing to say. But in this case, girl, with some sunlight left, she still held up an umbrella to shade her head. How immediately clicked his tongue and said, girls are pretty, with skin as peeled eggs. Smooth and beautiful like that, of course. They're afraid of the sun. So what if she uses an umbrella? You're scolding me, jumping to wild conclusions. Now it's your turn. So what exactly are you trying to say? Tuan swallowed hard and leaned in close to his ear. How whispered, I saw inside the hat an umbrella of that mother and daughter. There were two heads. What are you doing over there? I told you to stand still. But before he could finish his sentence, Tuan jumped in fright as the voice of the tea vendor lady rang out. See? Don't dare say anything more. The two young men stood frozen as the tea vendor chided them harshly. Did you break anything? Damage the trees or mess around with things? I warned you already, and you still didn't listen. That's it. The master wants you two to go inside and see him. Tuan and How responded politely and stepped in. As they reached the veranda, after taking a few steps, Tuan turned head back to see if the tea vendor had left. But as soon as he glanced back, Tuan quickly turned his face away, not daring to look any longer because she just stood there in the yard, eyes fixed intently on How, and Tuan went into Mr. Za's house. The tea vendor's gaze was cold, gloomy, lifeless, completely different from earlier. Tuan noticed that her complexion looked rather pale, clearly visible. He couldn't tell whether she was a ghost or a human to be able to change so quickly. Just as he stepped onto the porch steps, a chill ran down Tuan's spine. He still tried to turn his head and look back one more time. Tuan could no longer see the tea vendor anywhere. A sense of foreboding. Something bad was imminent. His anxiety grew as dusk began to fall. Just as he was about pull Hao's hand, skip fortune-telling anymore. From inside the main house, the voice of Master Sa rang out. Come in, please. Don't be afraid. Whether it was because the master's land was large, with many trees, and located in a secluded area at the edge of the village, so the air here felt more open and colder than in other places, or perhaps it was due to some mysterious reason that neither Tuan nor Hao can't explain. Just keep walking. Stepped into Master Sa's house. The colder it felt, but this cold was strange. It wasn't the kind that numbs your hands or feet like the wind or the chill of winter, but eerie. It felt like every time they inhaled or exhaled, that cold seeped deep inside, penetrating the internal organs, then spreading through every fiber of muscle and layer of skin, and finally escaping back out through the pores, making Hao and Tuan's arm, leg, and neck hair stood just like that. It all bristled upright. They left their sandals at the foot of the steps. Hao pushed. Tuan stepped in first, while he followed behind. Dusk was beginning to settle in. Out in the yard, a trace of sunlight still lingered from the setting sun just before it disappeared. turning the clouds a fiery red. Each moment, they faded little by little. Inside the house, the lights hadn't been turned on yet. However, to welcome guests for a fortune reading, Master Za had already lit candles, all prepared. He sat cross-legged on a wooden platform placed in the center of the room, facing the main entrance. Just behind him was a rather large wooden table. On the table, flickering candle flames were burning, arranged in pairs, symmetrically placed in specific positions. Incense smoke billowed thickly. The space felt somewhat eerie due to the "there is light" from the candle, making the two even more. Young men hesitate, afraid to step forward. Tugging on Tuan's shirt, Hao tried to say, in a whisper, "Let's go back." Before Tuan could respond, Master Shah spoke up in a firm voice. "There is yin energy on you, within. In the past 2 days, you must have been to a place where many people have died. And not only that, there is a demon residing there. If you don't find a way to dispel it within the next 3 more days, you will die." He hadn't even entered the house yet, but the master already recited everything Tuan was worried about. Boldly stepping forward, Tuan stood at the threshold, bowed his head, and greeted Master Sa. "Hello, Master. Came here hoping you could help me. Come in and have a seat. Are you feeling cold, aren't you?" Both Hao and Tuan sat properly on the wooden platform. Tuan answered the master's question. "Yes, sir. Ever since I stepped into your house, I felt very cold. It's hard to describe." "Me too, sir," Hao added. "Master?" Sa immediately replied, "That's because both of you are carrying yin energy. Normally, you wouldn't feel anything, but in my house, can't feel anything. But in the house, I worship gods. Besides, the whole house is full of them. That's the main reason why. Those who are possessed by spirits or demons, especially people like you two, whose bodies carry yin energy, will feel a chill and fear when entering my home." "Harmful," Hao stammered. But master, I only followed him. I didn't go to places with many dead people like he did, yet I still felt cold." "What does that mean?" Master Za continued. "You're thinking too simply. If you go with someone who's possessed by a demon, you'll also be affected as well." Hearing the explanation, Hao was startled and looked at Tuan. Hao spoke, almost in tears. "Oh no, I'm doomed. That means I'm in trouble too. You've dragged me into this, Tuan." Master Sa raised his hand, signaling Hao to be quiet. Then he nodded and said, "Don't be afraid. The fact that you two found your way here means it's heaven's will to save you two. Ghosts to humans are like an illness. If you fall ill and meet a good doctor, with the right medicine, you'll recover. Once the cause is known, there will surely be a way to resolve it. Now you, stand up and light the incense. Then make the offering and note your full name and date of birth. Lunar calendar. The lunar date. If you remember the exact time of birth, even better. Put it into this red envelope and place it on the small plate I've set in front of the offering tray." Master Sa pointed toward Tuan. Then he stood up and lit 5 incense sticks for Tuan. At that moment, both Tuan and Hao finally noticed that the altar in the master's house didn't worship incense normal, but instead had as many as 5 incense bowls. At the center was a large incense bowl placed on a 3-tiered pedestal. On the left and right sides were 2 smaller incense bowls, the size of a fist, placed just below. Master Sa guided Tuan to place the incense sticks into the bowls in order, bowing 3 times at each altar. There were 3 small plates made of white porcelain. Master Za tapped on one of the plates. "Tuan, place the offering money here." Tuan had brought 70,000 jong with him. 1 50,000 note and 1 20,000 note. Both bills were green, but the 50,000 note was a dark forest green, while the 20,000 note was a lighter turquoise green sky. The money Tuan had saved was still quite new and crisp. At first, Tuan only intended to place the 20,000 note, but thinking he figured he might need a reading for Hao as well, so Tuan decided to place the 50,000 note on the plate. The regret was clearly visible on his face, yet somewhere the master handed Tuan a red paper and a fountain pen. "Tuan, write your full name and dobi on this paper for me." At that moment, Tuan asked, "Master, teacher, I only remember the date of birth. Solar calendar? My family said I was born exactly at midnight. Is that acceptable?" Master Sa immediately replied, "All right, then write your date of birth solar calendar convert to lunar date. Just jot it down on this piece of paper first. Just write. No talking aloud. No one knew why Master Za insisted on writing without speaking. But once you're at his house, at his doorstep, there's no other choice but to listen and follow exactly. The master didn't say anything about him. Feeling anxious, Hao asked, "Master, what about me? Could you take a look? Can help me too? Please save me. I'm really scared." Master Za immediately replied, "The root, the origin of this misfortune lies with this young man. That's why, as long as we can save him, the misfortune will be averted and everything will be peaceful. Now, have you finished writing? Make sure you write it correctly," the master said to Tuan after. When helping Tuan discuss date of birth, Tuan finished writing, folded the red paper, and placed it back into a red envelope on the altar. 2 envelopes remained, small plates, one on the left side where Tuan had placed the money, and the one on the right was for the coin offerings. Tuan placed the red envelope right in the center. Once the incense in the censer had burned halfway through, Mr. Gya stood and clasped his hands, closed his eyes and began reciting some indistinct murmuring chants. When he finished, the master bowed 5 times, then took the red envelope from earlier and burned it in a brass basin in front of Hao and Tuan. After the red envelope had completely burned, Master Za tapped both hands on the wooden platform 3 times, then said, "It's done." And with a satisfied tone, he confidently declared, "Now I ask, you answer that question. Begin." Tuan nodded and replied obediently. "Master," Za asked, "in the past 2 days, have you gone to a place where many people have died? Was it the cemetery?" Tuan nodded, his voice trembling. "Yes, that's right, Master. Last night I went into the cemetery to look for frogs." Master Za gestured for Tuan to stop, saying nothing more. Then he reached under the wooden platform. Master Za took out a plate holding a cluster of areca nuts. On the plate, there was also a small knife. He held the cluster of areca nuts out toward Tuan. Master Za then continued, "Pick 1 nut from the cluster and split it in half." Split in half. Looking at the cluster, there were a total of 5 areca nuts, each one large, round, uniform, and perfectly aligned, with fresh green stems still intact. It must be said, this was a very beautiful cluster of areca nuts. Tuan reached out, picked just 1 nut, then asked, "Master, should I cut it horizontally or vertically, Master?" Tuan asked. Master Za replied, "Vertically. Cut the areca nut slowly. Don't twist it back and forth. Make sure the 2 halves of the nut are perfectly flat and even." Tuan's hands trembled slightly, but he split the areca nut cleanly in 2. Thanks to the knife on the master's tray was sharp. Tuan still held the areca nut in the palm of his hand. Master Za took another small dish and gestured for Tuan, "Plus cut areca nut into dish." As Tuan placed the nut into the dish, the 2 halves of the nut lay open on either side. But then something strange happened right before Hao and Tuan's eyes, making both of them freeze. Their skin crawled with goosebumps from fear. Tuan's eyes widened, staring at the areca nut he cut. He was completely speechless. Hao rubbed his eyes with his hand, trying to look carefully one more time, but nothing had changed. Hao kept moving his lips, murmuring, What is this? The areca nut? Why is it like this?" He gently pulled the plate closer to himself, and Master Za squinted at the 2 halves of the cow, then looked at Tuan and said, "Now you guys believe what I told you? The nut you just cut was oozing blood. You're facing a great misfortune. The next person to die is you. The thing that will actually kill you is a grave demon." Huyen, Truong, Mai. At the same time, before, in front of a small local eatery. Inside it was quite crowded with people eating and drinking. A woman was clearing dishes and chopsticks left by customers into a tray, about to carry them away when she noticed an old man outside wearing a very strange outfit. The old man wore glasses with silver hair tied up in a bun on his head. He wore cloth shoes, muddy. The woman stepped out and gently asked, "Excuse me." "Hello, sir. Would you like to have a meal?" The old man smiled and pulled out 2 500 dong bills from his pocket. Then he replied, "This is all I have left. Money. I wonder if the owner could sell me something small to eat, just to ease the hunger." Looking at the 2 500 dong bills in the old man's hand, the woman replied with concern, "Sir, here. Even the cheapest meal costs 5,000 dong. 1,000 dong is only enough to buy bread, sir. Also, I'm not the owner of the restaurant. I'm just a hired worker serving at the rice shop. The old man gently nodded and replied, Ah, well, thank you, miss. Sorry to trouble you. Very much. So much. The old man leaned on his cane as the woman was about to walk away. Seeing his somewhat weary gait, she noticed his canvas shoes were caked with mud and his hair was almost completely gray. The woman paused to think for a few seconds, then let out a sigh and reached out to call. Sir, come back here. I want to tell you something. The old man stopped and turned to look at the woman. Then, the tray holding the bowls and chopsticks from table number stepped out, took the old man's hand and continued. All right then. Just come inside with me. Pick a small table for two. She pulled out a chair for the old man to sit down. She smiled brightly. I'm just a worker too. I'm not wealthy at all, but I don't know why. When I saw you, I felt compassion. You sit here, okay? I'll take this pile of dishes inside and then buy you a meal. Just wait for me a moment. Right at that moment, the restaurant owner called out loudly from inside. The owner was a plump woman holding a notebook to tally the bills. She noticed tables of customers had finished eating, but the table still hadn't been cleaned, so she shouted angrily, can you even do your job? Those tables have been waiting to be cleaned. You keep going back forth and they're a mess. Clean them up now, so new customers can come in. The woman cleaning the tables, named Mai in her mid-30s, had a worn and weary face. Hurriedly replied, Yes, ma'am. Just give me a moment. Then I'll clean it right away. Forcing a strained smile, she quietly said to the old man, Please wait for me. Just a moment, okay? The restaurant owner came out, intending to ask the old man what he wanted to eat, but Mai said he was a friend of hers and that she would buy the meal. The owner shot her a sharp glance, then curtly replied, All right, hurry up. After saying that, she cheerfully went to the door to greet a new group of customers, 4 or 5 people. About 10 minutes later, Mai came out carrying a tray with a large bowl of rice, a plate with vegetables, peanuts, and 2 pieces of braised pork, some water spinach soup that had been boiled, and placed it in front of the old man. Mai cheerfully said, Please eat, sir. I've already paid for this meal. The elderly old man looked intently at the girl, with emotional eyes, wiping his dirty hands on the clothes he was wearing. He gently bowed head. Thank you. You are so kind. I don't know how I can repay this kindness. That's all. Mai smiled brightly and replied, I already told you. Even though I'm not wealthy, treating you to a meal is something I can afford. Please eat, sir. I'll get back to work right now. The old man ate his meal with great enjoyment. His elderly appearance, along with his unusual clothing, made many people in the restaurant notice him. A few tables began pointing, whispering, and commenting about the old man in a rather impolite manner. The restaurant was crowded. In no time, almost all the tables were full. A married couple walked in, looked around, and saw no empty seats, except for a small table right next to the old man, was sitting there eating. The couple frowned when they saw the old man eating beside them. His clothes were dirty and shabby, and his shoes were caked with mud. The wife hadn't even sat down yet, but already looked annoyed. She covered her nose and exclaimed, This is unbearable. This restaurant is so crowded, yet they let such a foul smell linger. In the middle of chewing his food, the old man paused, gently sniffed around where he was sitting, then looked down at the clothes he was wearing. The old man replied in a hesitant voice, My clothes, though a bit dirty, but it's not to the point of giving off a bad smell, as you said. All this time, no one here has noticed any smell. So why are you really scolding me so harshly? The woman's husband pointed at the old man's shoes and snapped, You stinky old man! You're Vietnamese! Is pretty fluent, huh? Still claiming you don't stink? Look at his shoes. They're completely covered in mud, filthy and pitch black like that. If there's no smell, then I still wouldn't be able to eat my meal. The shop owner saw what was happening, and while stepping out to greet guests, she smiled and said, For the couple, husband, yes, uncle, calm down and sit at the table. Have some water, a table ready in a moment. Now, come on. Hey, move over there. The couple still insisted on speaking loudly. This is a clean, busy restaurant, and yet the owner doesn't pay attention at all. Customers are customers, but seeing him, disgusting. The couple's attitude made other diners feel uneasy, but not wanting to get involved, they just shook their heads in dismay. The restaurant owner looked at the old man with a hint of irritation, but the issue was, the old man finished his meal and went inside. She frowned at Mai and said, "There, that's your customer. No money, yet still full of pride. That attitude. No wonder he got scammed like a fool," Mai softly mumbled in response. "But he just didn't really smell bad like those two people said. Standing by the old man, no one noticed the smell. So why a Chinese person speaking Vietnamese so fluently? Still arguing, huh? Go clean up. Many clients today and I'm in a good mood, so I won't bother saying anything." The restaurant owner grumbled. She walked back inside, directed the cooks. A few minutes later, a table was available for the couple. By the time they sat down, the restaurant was full and the other customers were already eating. So Mai took the opportunity to move a little closer to the old man. Seeing that he had finished eating, not leaving a single bite, Mai quietly asked, "You must have been very hungry, weren't you, sir? Was that enough to fill you up?" The old man smiled and replied, "To be honest with you, young lady, this is the first proper meal. Today I have had a delicious meal. Very well cooked. Is delicious. No wonder the restaurant is so cheap, so crowded. Girl, you sit down. Come down here." The old man pointed to the chair next to him. Mai hesitantly asked, "What for, sir?" The old man continued, "Just sit down. Place your hand on the table. I want to check your pulse. Help you see. Pulse. Are you a doctor?" Maitron. The other diners who were eating also became curious after hearing the old man said. The old man smiled kindly and replied, "Just let me check your pulse, then I'll diagnose your condition to see if I'm right or not, okay?" He opened his satchel and took out a small cushion, just slightly larger than 3 fingers. The old man continued, "Place your left hand here." Mai felt a bit embarrassed, but she still followed the old man's instructions. The incident happening right in the eatery made everyone curious. Some people still holding their chopsticks peeked over at the table to eavesdrop. The once noisy eatery suddenly fell strangely silent, looking at the old man's demeanor, calm and composed with sharp eyes. His right hand took the pulse, while his left hand gently stroked his silver beard, making everyone present in the eatery feel they were in the presence of a legendary healer. It was a diagnosis after all. With each passing second, the tension grew with each moment as everyone eagerly awaited the result of the pulse reading. "What is circuit?" Breaking the silence, he gently released Mai's wrist, and the old man said, "Young lady, you have a back muscle spasm. And in addition, although your internal organs, heart, spleen, lungs, kidneys haven't been affected yet. However, 2 major organs, gallbladder and triple burner, in 6 internal organs, are experiencing issues due to damp heat, which has caused stagnation in the liver and gallbladder. The root cause is consuming too much spicy and greasy food, which disrupts the liver's qi and blood flow, leading to a loss of its dispersing function, resulting in the condition called hypochondria. There's persistent pain on both sides of the rib cage." The old man was still speaking when the plump woman, the shop owner, interrupted. "See, I told you already, all that leftover food." "The leftover food is all greasy and spicy. Throw it out for the pigs." But you wouldn't listen, trying to save it, and kept forcing him to eat it. He's been looking all skinny, and then frowned. "This woman is really tactless," then frowned. "This woman is really rude. People try to diagnose an illness and she keeps butting in." The old man simply smiled without any sign of anger or scolding. He said, just standing up and looking at everyone. The old man said to the girl, If you agree, this old man will help treat your lower back muscle stiffness using acupressure. You'll need to move a bit slowly around the lower back area. If not, the longer it's left untreated, the more painful it will become, and it could turn into chronic back pain." Mai, after hearing the man check her pulse and diagnose, then she completely trusted him because everything the old man said matched her health recently. Mai immediately replied, "Yes, sir. Sir, if you could help me, that would be great." "Thanks." The old man placed both hands around her waist at the lower back area. He positioned his thumbs at the back with the other 4 fingers in front, the 2 thumbs both. The old man placed his thumbs on the dajui acupoint, applying moderate pressure, pressing and massaging for about 2 minutes. When he let go, Mai noticed the pain in her lower back had eased significantly compared to before. Earlier, when clearing the table, Mai would grimace when she bent and stood. The old man continued, "You only need to do this once a day, like that daily, and slowly the pain will subside. As for illnesses related to the internal organs, it so happens that bottle of medicine very effective at supporting the function of the internal organs. I will give you 1 pill to take every morning. but you must avoid fatty and spicy foods. After about 2 weeks of taking it, you'll be cured, the old man said. He took bottle of medicine from bundle, handed it to Mai. Before leaving, the old man thanked Mai for the meal. Mai immediately asked excitedly, "Grandpa, I still don't know your name." The old man replied, "I am Luong. In some places, people, you can address me by the distinguished title of Master Tao." We have arrived at the location we were discussing earlier. Turns out he's literally Chinese. I had a feeling all along. The clothes he was wearing looked really unusual. Now I realize how skilled these Chinese masters are. Their medical techniques are extraordinary. I've heard they even know how to make talismans do spiritual protection. But how come he speaks Vietnamese so well? The diners in the restaurant, who are enjoying their meals, chattered excitedly, discussing and rejoicing. "Thank you, Chinese master," they exclaimed. Just as he stepped out the doorway, from behind, the plump restaurant owner came running heavily, panting as she called out loudly, "Master Luong, you're Master Luong, aren't you?" Then she grabbed his hand. The restaurant owner looked closely at the Chinese master's face, examining him from head to toe. Then she quickly said, "That's right, you are Master Luong," always carrying a cloth bag on his shoulder. Sulks a rather thin figure, white beard, gray hair. "Master, please save me, save my family too." Master Luong looked utterly surprised when he saw restaurant owner sobbing and pleading with him. At that moment, Master Luong replied, "I don't even know the owner. This is my first time coming here. Could it be that you've mistaken me for someone else?" The customers in the restaurant were not sure why the restaurant owner was pleading for help from the Chinese master. Then the owner turned and said, "The rice restaurant of ours will be closed today. Kindly ask everyone leave." The customers were surprised, looking at each other in confusion. "Why should we leave? I haven't even finished eating yet." But the shop owner continued, "I will not. Please go home. I ask for your understanding. What do you guys think about it? Please forgive me." Mai escorted the guests and closed the restaurant. Even after hearing that they wouldn't be charged, many people still looked displeased. Several tables had actually finished eating, but they lingered. Watched the Chinese doctor diagnose pulses. Patients. Upon hearing the meal was free, they looked, nodded in agreement, and then left. A few people who were still eating asked, "So what about the food we're eating? Can we take the rest home?" Still holding Master Luong's wrist, the restaurant owner replied, Yes, grab a bag and take it home. Take it. Go home, May, and tell the kitchen staff to see what food is left. Tell them to take it home to eat today. They didn't want to sell anything anymore. Just closed up in 3 minutes. The place was deserted. Not a single customer left. Leftover food, freshly made food from the kitchen taken. Everyone shared, then brought it home cleanly. Only the bowls, plates, chopsticks, and cups were left scattered on the tables. The customers left, and the kitchen staff left too. Only the shop owner remained, still holding on to Master Leon's hand. After everything was done, Master Leon was finally able to speak. "Ma'am, could you please let go of my hand now?" But the rice shop owner still refused to let go. "But you have to promise me, Master. You won't leave this place." Master Leon let out a short sigh, then gently nodded. "I'll stay. After all, I just had a meal here. It must be something urgent and important for you to act this way. Calm down, sit down, and tell me what's going on. If there's anything I can help with, I will." May had just closed the restaurant, and May herself didn't know why the owner suddenly started acting so strangely. After closing the shop, May immediately asked, "Sister, should I head home now? Or do I need to clean up the tables first?" The restaurant owner shook her head, then said, "May, please stay here and ask Master Leon to help me. I'm begging you." Then she invited Master Leon to sit down. The restaurant owner suddenly dropped to her knees, bowing her head ground before Master Leon, her voice choked with sobs. "Master, please save my family. I've been seriously ill for a year now, getting weaker by the day. My life now is like a flickering candle in wind, by the wind, ready to go out at any moment. I will kneel here until you agree to help, right, Master?" Master Leon tried to help her up, but since the owner was large and heavy, he couldn't lift her. He helped her to her feet. Master Leon then said, "Please, ma'am, stand up. I already said earlier if I can help. I definitely will." Kneeling in front of me, Like this shortens my lifespan, and it looks bad. There's no need to kneel. Sit on the chair so we can talk. If you won't listen, I'll leave this place. Immediately. The restaurant owner hurriedly stood up and quickly pulled Master Leon, sit down. Her eyes were brimming with tears. While awaiting the restaurant owner to calm down, Master Leon gently asked, "But why is your family in this situation? I don't recall ever coming here, and I've never met your family before either. Literally." The owner sobbed, wiping her tears as she replied, "Yes, that's true. This is the first time I've met you, Master, but your reputation I've known. It was 2 years ago. I won't hide from you, Master. My husband fell seriously ill. I had to travel everywhere looking for doctors and medicine, but nowhere can cure the disease, husband and children's illness. Then someone told Puban village in Puli district, Hanam province, to find a healer named Master Nan. He had a remedy that could treat the condition for headaches that was very effective. When I described my husband's condition, the person who told me about it was certain, absolutely sure, that Master Nan could cure the illness, because he had previously treated someone in her own family. The only thing was, the cost of the medicine was high. Seeking help everywhere, we had spent an unimaginable amount of money. But husband's condition did not improve. On the contrary, it got even worse. After all those long trips, I always kept in mind that I had to sell all we had to cure my husband. I would do it. That's why after getting the address of Master Nan's house in Puvan village, I decided to set out for Nam. Hearing this, Master Leon suddenly remembered that something that had happened a long time ago. It must have been at least 10 years or more. Puvan village, Fuli, Hanam, Master Nan. Could that be the traditional medicine shop located at village's three-way intersection? The shop owner, who has a mole on his right cheek? Right. Plump woman shop owner looked surprised and asked in surprise, You still remember him, sir? That was Master Nan, the herbal doctor. He really did have a mole on his right cheek. As for the traditional medicine shop visiting the address, the shop had already been sold to someone else. The land was cleared, and a new house was built. They were selling fruit instead, not doing herbal medicine. It took effort for me to find out where Master Nan was living, but when I got there, Master Nan was frail, bedridden, emaciated, shriveled, and unable to speak. His wife was taking care of him every day. When I asked story, the wife and children just knew the husband and wife. The teacher had a son but he passed away a year ago. He committed suicide. Before he died, he left a large debt for his parents. Master Nan suffered a stroke from a malignant wind. Although he survived, his limbs became stiff and he couldn't speak. They sold all their possessions to pay off the debt and were left with just a little money. The couple bought a small piece of land at the edge of the village to get by. I asked Master Nan's wife about the remedy for headaches and learned that the remedy was passed down from one person to another. Thanks to indeed using this remedy, Master Nan's wife was cured of her chronic headaches that had plagued her since youth. And it was also thanks to this remedy Master Nan got rich. Many people from all over came seeking treatment. However, once he had a lot of money, Master Nan's personality changed. He became greedy, lustful, and looked down on the poor. There were people who had suffered from chronic, hard-to-treat illnesses, traveling long distances to seek Master Nan's help, but because they couldn't afford to pay, he chased back, not continue. The highest point has a family of 3, a husband, a wife, and a young child. The child was seriously ill. In their desperation, the couple had to sell their land and house, taking their child everywhere in search of treatment. They also sought out Master Nan because of his reputation. But once taking their money, Master Nan kept postponing again and again. They never got the treatment and the child passed away before they could see the master. Overwhelmed with grief, the couple carried their child's body at night, went to Master Nan's traditional medicine shop and hanged themselves. The next morning, the villagers discovered the horrifying scene. They were both terrified and heartbroken over the death of the family of 3. Although Master Nan did not directly kill them, he was the cause that led to the death of all 3. Hearing the story from the rice shop owner, May was moved to tears. May is a sensitive, kind-hearted person, so when she hears stories like that, she is easily touched. Master Leon closed his eyes, sighed deeply, sorrowfully shaking his head in pity for that physician Nan. When we first met him, he truly did have a bit of greed for money, but when I passed on to him the remedy for treating headaches, he didn't take any money from me and returned it instead. I still remember the last thing I actually said to him was that I hoped he would do good deeds in the future and save more people. Who would have thought such a tragic, a truly heartbreaking event would happen? Being a physician, saving lives, and helping others, that is the true, priceless treasure. A blessing not only for oneself but also for future generations. Chasing profit, turning a blind eye, and abandoning the compassion of a healer only to end up harming others and oneself is truly blameworthy. The restaurant owner continued, perhaps it was also because of that later on, Master Nan's son also died by hanging himself. No? To find the precious remedy, I asked Master Nan's wife to show me how to find the person who had taught Master Nan that remedy. Yes, Master Nan said it was a man of Chinese origin named Luong. Speaking of Master Luong, everyone in Phu Van village also knew him because he was the one who helped the women in village escape plague of poisonous rats, cleared the dragon vein, and resolved the prolonged drought in Phu Van village. There is a well called Mr. Luong's well. Master Nan's wife spoke while crying, constantly saying that their family had been shown the path to survival by a sage, but then they themselves strayed from the path and brought about their own karma. I also went to Mr. Luong's well. There's a black stone stele engraved beautifully with a poem. Mr. Luong's well never runs dry, always abundant. For both himself and everyone else, his heart is as vast as a river, as deep as the sea, like a stream that never really stops flowing. The poem has no title or author's name, but according to a woman who was carrying water at the well, it was written by a young boy. This boy was very bright, and the whole village placed their hopes in him. When asked whose child he was, the answer was the son of a person named Mother Master Leon. With a gentle smile, Dean Shadow then said, "It's already been 10 years since we left home." Such nostalgia. Looking at the rice shop owner, Dean Shadow nodded. "All right, take me to see your husband. I need to examine his condition to know whether he can be saved or not." About to kneel was kneeling, but the shop owner was stopped by Dean Shadow. "Stop. After saving people, then want to show your respect, then I will accept it. Now, let's go." Hearing Dean Shadow say that, the shop owner's wife was deeply moved. She thought back to how she had acted disrespectfully toward the master earlier. She softly said, "You truly are a compassionate person, master. So generous. If I offended you earlier, I hope you can forgive me, master." She had just spoken up for the shop owner. That woman has a hot temper, and with work being hectic at times, she can be a bit harsh. But honestly, she's a good person, master. Dean Shadow smiled. "I understand. If the shop owner had a wicked heart, she would have kicked me out already restaurant since meeting that couple on the person. But instead, the shop owner handled it very tactfully. There's also another little detail. Made me realize the owner isn't a bad person. Must probably be a bad person. We know she doesn't charge for the meals. However, people still leave money at the bottom of the bowls and plates. If you don't believe me, just try clearing the table." The restaurant owner and May walked over to a few dining tables, gently lifted the bowls and plates of food, and sure enough, underneath there were 5,000 and 10,000 dong bills, the money for the meals left behind by the customers. Dean Shadow continued, "This proves that on a regular basis, the restaurant runs a very honest business. The food is delicious, so most of the customers are regulars. They don't want to take advantage of the owner. It shows that they really care about the lady who runs the place." The restaurant owner held the money left by the customers tearing up. May smiled and said to Dean Shadow, "Yes, sir. She's very warm and friendly when selling food, always. Giving extra portions by looking at customer. The only thing is sometimes she can be a bit sharp-tongued, but she forgets it right after saying it. She never holds a grudge. The meal you had earlier was on me, but when I said I would pay for it, she refused to take the money." Chin the Fat waved his hand. "Miss May doesn't make much. She only earns a few bucks a day to buy gifts for the little boy with that money." Mekiao smiled and replied, "Yes, he's my son, sir." Dean Shadow looked at the still messy tables. "May, continue cleaning. Now like this, bowls, plates. Can't you clean it up right away?" "Oh, sir. Luong has agreed to help you. Sister Chin, just go ahead. Take the teacher to visit his sick brother. Leave the cleaning at the shop to me. What happened today? Today also leave early. You finish, you will know. Lock up and head home. I'll come in early tomorrow." Chin Beo quickly said, "Then please help me out, May. And don't forget to take the food home for the little Q. Cassava, caustic soda, and rice. I remember. Just then the teacher, just go ahead. May replied. Chinbeo invited Dean Shadow to her home. The rice shop had just opened on the main street district town. The house belonged to the couple. Chin's husband is in the alley, away from there, 1 kilometer away. It was a house left by her husband's parents. Hung. Chinbeo has a daughter who is now 16 years old. The restaurant opens 2 shifts, noon and evening. Day Chin cares for her husband when their daughter comes home from school. Chin then goes out to the shop to check on the tasks. Thank you for listening. Goodbye to all of you, and see you again in the next chapter of the story.